Hi everyone, I'm Kat and welcome to my channel, Naturally Beautiful Girl. So as soon as I saw this product launch, I knew I had to test it out for you guys. So today I'm going to be giving you a review and also show you a demo of me using the brand new RMS Beauty Uncoverup Cream Foundation. First to start off with, I know RMS Beauty can be a little bit controversial and I'm not going to go into commenting anything on that today. I really just want to talk about the foundation, whether it works and whether it doesn't. And I know that some people don't feel that RMS Beauty should be supported and really, people like me should be purchasing their products. But here's my thought. I don't agree with all the marketing that RMS Beauty uses, nor do I agree with everything that Rosemary Swift says. But I am committed to non-toxic beauty being accessible. And one of the things I really like about RMS Beauty is that it is available at Sephora and physically in Sephora stores. And I appreciate that you can walk into these stores and find products. And so because of that, I do try and test out RMS Beauty, and in fact, I like a lot of their products. I think that they make a lot of really good products, and so when I saw this foundation launch, I wanted to try it out for you guys. Currently, this foundation is only available at Credo Beauty, so you can either shop in person at a Credo Beauty store or through the Credo Beauty website. I'm not entirely sure about this, but I think it will be launching more extensively soon, but just kind of the initial launch was like special and just done through Credo Beauty. It is available physically in Credo Beauty stores. I went to the Boston store. I did see this in person, so if you want to go and look at shades in person, you would be able to do that, which is great. I hate it when there's kind of a delay between things being physically available in stores and when they launch, it just makes it more difficult to find shades. This foundation retails for $52, so it is a quite steep price point for a foundation. It is cruelty-free, but it is not vegan. It does use beeswax in it. There are 16 shades of the foundation, which it's good. It's not excellent. I've seen worse, so it's kind of in the middle in terms of shade range. I have the shade 000, which is for very fair skin with neutral undertones, and that is how I would describe my skin tone. It seems that the shades in the foundation kind of correspond to the shades in the concealer. I think if you know your shade in the RMS Uncoverup concealer, that would correspond to your shade in the foundation. Because I haven't used the 000 cream concealer, but I have swatched it before and that does seem to be my shade. I did own the concealer in 00, which is one step up from 000, and that was too deep for me. One of the things I'm going to start with is the consistency of this product is pretty interesting. In the age of pumps and stick foundations, this guy comes in a pot. It is a glass pot, so I appreciate that. It's nice recyclable packaging. And it does come with a spatula that you can use to get out the product. I thought when I got this that it was going to be more of a whipped consistency, but it's quite solid. Like you can see the marks where I've been using the foundation on the side. Like it is very solid. I can hold it upside down, nothing's falling out. I feel like this foundation would have been better packaged in a tube, like in a traditional stick foundation format, because it basically is a stick foundation. It just happens to be in a pot. And I think having it in a stick would make the application easier. I appreciate that they do give you a spatula because it would be very annoying to have to reach in with your fingers and constantly get your foundation out. But I think a stick would have made application much, much easier. One of the big kind of talking points about RMS Beauty is their use of coconut oil. And this foundation does in fact contain coconut oil. And I have oily acne prone skin. So I have the skin type that typically does not agree very well with coconut oil. Every once in a while, some coconut oil is okay, some's not. It really just depends. I think whether coconut oils irritate my skin or not depends a lot on the quality of the coconut oil, how it's processed, and kind of what exactly is in the product, how much is there in the product, all of that. So I got this foundation to test out for you guys, because I've seen a lot of people testing it out that don't necessarily have acne prone skin. So I really felt like I needed to answer the question for you guys of whether it breaks me out or not. And I am really shocked to say that it doesn't seem to be breaking me out. I've been using it for a few days. on and off. I've used it for a couple days in a row and then a day off and then used it again. I just kind of wanted to see how my skin was behaving and reacting. Typically, if your skin does not agree with coconut oil, what will happen is that you will get these little bumps all over your face. And typically by, partway through the day or the end of the day, you'll start seeing those. And I really haven't. I get some bumps on my face, but basically I get those every single day. I have oily skin, I put on sunscreen. The combination of sunscreen plus makeup does eventually clog my pores. And this foundation though does not do it any more than any other foundation that I own. In fact, it does it less than some other ones that I own. So I'm really impressed by that. I think that is a good sign. So if you have acne prone skin, I can't guarantee that it won't cause breakouts for you. Everybody's skin is different, but I am completely shocked that it's not doing that for me. I do use the RMS Living Luminizer pretty frequently, and even though that does have coconut oil, I don't seem to have problems with that either. So I think the way RMS Beauty formulates their coconut oil and the amounts that they use and the way that they source it, and the way that it's extracted, all of that seems to agree with my skin. But I have, like I said, found instances where coconut oil does not agree with my skin. So it's a very much an individual product, individual skin. Like there's just all sorts of factors that go into whether it irritates my skin or not. This foundation, like I said, it's very solid and it's very thick. So what you'll see me do when I apply it is I scoop some out with the spatula. Then I take from the spatula, I put it onto my hands, and then I kind of dot it onto my face. And I smooth it out a little bit. And then I take a brush typically and we'll use that to blend out the foundation. And the shade 000 is a very good shade match for me. I feel like when I started in Non-Toxic Beauty, there were not fair shades and foundations. They were just not in existence. With Non-Toxic Beauty growing and the number of brands growing and the community growing in general, I have definitely seen an improvement in the shade range. I think that's also a carryover from conventional beauty. The conventional beauty community has become really outspoken about shade ranges in complexion products, which is fantastic and needed to have happened years ago, to be honest. But that is definitely carried over into non-toxic beauty, and I'm seeing that in the fact that a lot of these new launches do in fact have a shade that will match me. So if you have porcelain fair skin and it's pretty neutral in undertone, this foundation does work very well. One of the things that surprised me about this foundation is how full coverage it is. Like you can see when I'm blending it out, it is pretty full coverage. It really covers up everything, which, you know, I've been moving into liking a little bit less coverage in the foundation, but it's still really good to have that option, especially because, you know, non-toxic beauty hasn't really been known for full coverage foundations. So this does blend out fairly easily. Like I said, I've been wearing sunscreen and I will often do a moisturizer under my sunscreen. I know even though I have oily skin, I really like to, you know, take care of my skin and do the appropriate skincare. And also, I don't typically use primers, and I find that using moisturizers and using sunscreen kind of are a way of priming my skin, and it helps with the makeup application. So I do find that when I use a good moisturizer underneath this, it helps me to blend the foundation out. It can be a little thick when you first start out, but the nice thing about products like coconut oil is coconut oil warms up on your skin really nicely. So as you start blending it, and as, you know, the warmth of your skin actually helps it to blend easier. So this is a little interesting. It's not my favorite foundation in the way that it blends and sits on my skin. I think it sits a little bit, but as the day goes on, it looks better. So when I first put it on, I feel like I can see it on my skin, but as it kind of melts into my skin, within a couple hours, it starts looking better. So it's one of those ones that doesn't look amazing on first application. It's pretty dewy when I first put it on, but it definitely starts drying down. So I would say the finish is more of a skin-like finish. It's definitely not a matte foundation, but it's not dewy either. It definitely dries down. I've tried this foundation using powders and with using cream products, and it works well with both, which is nice. So if you prefer using, for instance, cream blushes or cream highlights, you can use this foundation, or if you prefer using powder blushes, powder highlights, you can also use this foundation. So works well both ways. And I do set this. I've been using my Clove and Hallow foundation to set all my foundations. It's my favorite way to set foundations at the moment. I have oily skin, so I always set my foundations. And what I found with this one is it wears a lot better than I thought it would. Would I say it's the best wearing foundation I own? No. It does start breaking down a little bit at the end of the day. It also has been very hot in Boston. It got a little bit cooler like last weekend, and then it started getting hot again. I thought we were done with summer. I love summer, but it can get rather hot and I don't have air conditioning, so you know, I was ready for a little bit cooler, more comfortable weather, but then it started getting really hot again while I was testing out this foundation. So I think the fact that it's breaking apart is also because it's quite hot, and I typically don't like to wear these more creamy foundations when it's hot. I find that liquid foundations typically wear a little better on me. For instance, I don't like wearing my Au Natural Stick Foundation, which is one of my all-time favorite foundations in the summer, just because that doesn't hold up that well. So I think this might be suffering just from the heat. I think in the winter it would wear longer on me. So it's not bad. And like when I say it starts breaking apart, like it's something that like if I take a brush, I can kind of blend everything back together and get it looking okay. But I prefer when foundations don't do that, and things like my Ilia foundation doesn't do that, the Clove and Hallow foundation doesn't do that, the Crop Natural foundation doesn't do that, so it's not quite as long wearing as those, but I think it does hold up pretty well. I do think though that this would be a foundation that might get a little clingy if you have dry patches, like I said. I find that it kind of sits a little bit on top of the skin, and I don't have dry patches right now, but I imagine it could cling to those just because it sits on top of my skin a little bit. But I think as it kind of sinks in and as the day wears on, I think it would look better. So what do I think of this foundation overall? Would I recommend it? I think it really depends on what you like in a foundation. It honestly reminds me a lot of the Kara Weiss foundation. I have a video filmed and reviewing, kind of doing a brand overview of the Kara Weiss products. I need to actually sit down and edit it, but I haven't had a chance to do that yet, so you'll hear more of my thoughts there. But this foundation reminds me a lot of that one. I think too because of the mechanism of you applying them. The Kara Weiss foundation comes in a palette like this. It's got a lot of coverage. It also contains coconut oil, so I think these two are very similar. I wouldn't say you need both of them, but if you're interested in a foundation like this, I would say go for one or the other. The Kara Weiss is pretty expensive, so I think the RMS Beauty foundation is a little bit more affordable. If you want something that's very full coverage, the RMS Beauty is a good way to go. If you're not afraid of coconut oil, it's also a good way to go. I feel like it's just hard to beat something like the Ilia foundation or the new Clove and Hallow foundation, like those, or the Au Natural Stick foundation. I don't know, they're just really good. So I don't think this one's quite as good as those, but the coverage is really high, which I appreciate. I guess I don't have anything really bad to say about it. I'm just kind of more neutral on it. I like it, but I'm not thinking, okay, this is the best foundation I've ever used. This is the one that I'm going to reach for every single day. But I do like it. There's nothing I see that's really wrong with it. So I don't know if this is the most helpful review, but that's really how I feel about it, and I wanted to share that with you guys. But overall, it's a very solid foundation, and I think it's kind of what we expected. It really does remind me a lot of the Uncoverup concealer. It does have a slightly different formula than the concealer. It's got that really full coverage that the concealer is known for. So I think it's a solid product. If you're curious about it, it's worth checking out. I think the shade range is decent, not the best, not the worst. So yeah, it's a pretty solid foundation. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also check out my Instagram. My handle's at naturallybeautifulgirl for more non-toxic, cruelty-free content. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!